What is up, everybody? This is Ryan with the Scale Up Show. I have an awesome guest on today. I have Tamas Kadar, who is the founder and CEO of SEON, which he founded in his dorm room in university and has taken it to grow 300% last year to over $11 million. Is going to on pace to double at another 200% growth this year. Just took a $94 million Series A round and breaks down his step-by-step on how to rapidly scale at an early stage and what you can do and how you can apply it to your business. You're not going to want to miss this. Check it out. Welcome, everybody, to the Scale Up Show. This is your host, Ryan Staley, and I have a very special guest with me today. I have Tamas Kadar, who is the founder and CEO of SEON. He actually started his company with his co-founder when they were still students at the university and built it from scratch all the way to a company that's at its Series B already. They grew 300% last year and use machine learning, have clients such as Patreon, PokerStars, and other e-commerce companies. Tamas, welcome, man. Happy to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting, and pleasure to be here. Hi all.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. I know you're quite the traveler, so you're live from Budapest right now, right? Which is cool. Although you reside in San Francisco as well, man. So just so that we can give everybody a quick understanding of where you're at in terms of the journey, can you please share with us, where you're at in terms of your ARR?
Yeah, we started 5 years ago. ARR level, as we grew 3x last year, we are just well over 10 million and growing again quite quickly over the last couple of months and years. So yeah, we try to set very ambitious goals, and as a private company, we don't disclose our numbers publicly, but I can tell you that last year was amazing. So we try to replicate the same type of effect this year. So we try to also work extra smart in order to get there.
Yeah, well, obviously you're doing something right if you get to 10 million and have a Series B in 5 years, right out of school as well. So, so congrats on your success so far. So can you give a really quick explanation of your solution and how it works and who it serves?
Yeah, so we are developing an API-based platform which helps any online business out there to prevent and mitigate fraud. What it does is it actually screens the customers based on their digital footprint. We try to enrich the data which can be captured during onboarding and during payments, and then use machine learning in order to score registration attempts, payment attempts, logins, so we can prevent a number of different fraudulent transactions. So let it be fake accounts, identity theft, stolen identities, payment fraud, chargebacks, etc. So it's a very wide use case, and we also try to have any online business. So let it be small, medium, large. Our solution is applicable to all the different fraud types and also for any online business.
So basically anybody accepting payments, right? I mean, that's a pretty broad market where obviously there's millions of use cases for that. So what's in light that that's your solution, what's your primary revenue go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, we are a product-led growth company. So we really try to put the product first. And by that, I mean we have spent pricing on the website. Anyone can calculate their own monthly cost, and we offer a free trial, so a free proof of concept period. Our API documentation is freely accessible by anyone, so they can just go to our docs. We try to be led by content, so we have a very strong content team in-house, and they produce these DIY type of content pieces, which helps our potential clients and target audience to understand more about fraud, but also if they want to set up in-house solutions to understand how they can do that. And yeah, we really have an inbound machine. So 70% of our clients are inbound, and they sign up on our website by finding us on Google or paid media ads. So yeah, we put the product first then, so they go into the product or talk to our salespeople, and then we try to solve their problem with our services and product. And it's really off the shelf, a packaged product, so it's API based and also flexible, so they can implement it to registration, login, payments, and etc. So very customer centric. There's a nice UX as well. So we try to make the problem one of the easy things to solve for their business, and we allow them to concentrate on growing their business instead of preventing losses.
Okay, that's excellent. So content, 70% inbound. What's the other 30% come from then predominantly?
Yeah, it's referrals, some outbound, which we just recently started to do, mainly those.
Okay, referrals and outbound. Have you systemized referrals at all?
Not yet. It's just ad hoc. So we have some partners in place, but mainly, they hear about us word by mouth, or we find some mutual contacts to reach out to or through them, and get some potential eyes from their firm on our solution.
Okay, excellent. And then we mentioned your team's 280 people, so you got that. And then also we mentioned, you're funded as well. Your Series B, just by checking out TechCrunch, was 94 million, right? Which is a large round. Just out of curiosity for that, why did you decide to take so much money?
Yeah, it was rather simple. We had a really good year, and also the year before, so we're good position, and we were really oversubscribed. So we try to optimize for not having to fundraise again in 12 months. And I think we've made the right call at that time. We are really focusing on making those bold bets, which we wanted to do in the last couple of months. So, potentially acquiring other companies and hiring those executives and the profiles we need. And this is not cheap. So we need to invest capital to put it in motion and, just have this cycle of growth.
What is up, everybody? Thanks for checking this out. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss it. Also hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode at all. And if you want to find out more about how I could help you or your organization, check out my website, www.ryanstaley.io. Now we're back to the video. Cool, man. So that was kind of in the cards, is like an acquisition strategy with that roll up. And I assume that was to acquire, was it product or IP predominantly, or what was the design behind it?
Yeah, product and IP.
Okay, cool. Totally makes sense. Okay, well, that's awesome, man. I mean, congrats on your success. And, you've had a really impressive journey considering, your age and where you're at just in terms of your career. So can you walk us through like how you started this in college? And, this is like stuff people make movies about, right? This guy made it in college in his dorm room. And, so walk us through that, man. Like, walk us through how, like, what was the apple falling on your head moment, right? And then how did you decide to start really focusing it and going after it? And would just love to hear the journey.
Sure. So with my co-founder, Ben, we were good university friends, and we were both very interested in crypto about 10 years ago. So we, were, looking at different ventures and started a crypto exchange in Central Europe. And we wanted to accept the fastest form of payments for this crypto exchange, which is still today credit card payments. And then we have integrated a payment gateway and started to accept card payments for Bitcoin. And then in the first week, we got a number of chargebacks. So we've lost about more than 10 grand back then. And then we tried to look at the market to find a solution to prevent this to happen again. And then we couldn't find an appropriate solution on the market because most of them had an enterprise focus. They were really high dose about their pricing and product features, and they forced us to go through numerous sales and discovery calls, which was really unusual as we were used to, to how Spotify or Netflix works, right? And it was really inefficient in our opinion how these companies really treated their clients. So we decided to build something in-house. And then when we actually spoke with some other business owners, we found out that actually it's a common issue and many companies are facing this challenge. So we have decided to pivot from the exchange to actually become a fraud prevention solution provider as a SaaS business. This was right in college still in the last year. And then in the last year, we have started to actually talk to investors. We have set up, the company brand and website and decided about to go and fundraise, which we were lucky with, and raised a micro seed investment 5 years ago, which helped us to start out from a co-working space, my co-founder Ben and myself, and then the first few people who joined, they have become later or CPO, CTO, they're still with us today. And then slowly but steadily we grew up to the point of the pandemic when we were about 20 people. And then the pandemic has really accelerated our growth. We have decided to open up an office in London. Actually, we started out from Budapest, so from Central Europe. And then in London, we have hired commercial leadership team. And then now we are also in Austin, in the States, and also in Jakarta, Indonesia. We have people all across the globe. So yeah, this is how we have scaled up to 280 people as of now. And looking forward to the next milestones.
That's awesome, man. I mean, so you did that, and so you said you got a micro seed to kind of get started. Did that? And by the way, did you finish school at all, or no?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys both graduated. So so how did you have the wherewithal to like start or to find the money? Where did you find the money? It was like, because that's what a lot of people talk about is like finding investors and stuff like that. So how did you find it at such a young age and while you're in school?
Yeah, it was rather easy. We went to different events to pitch our idea. We've created a pitch deck. We went to these, startup pitch events, online and offline. So we even flew to other countries in Europe to find potentially new investors. But eventually we ended up with a local investor. I mean, just across the border, they were from Austria. So it didn't take us too long, like 3 months, but we needed the idea, we needed some trial users and some really early sign of traction. No product market fit. We only found our product market fit in the first 1.5 or let's say 2 years. So it wasn't so easy, but here we are today.
So wait, what you're saying is you only got 5 customers in the first 2 years? Is that what you're saying?
No. We've had more, but in the first year we've had about 5. In the second year we've had about, say, like 15, and then we've scaled up really quickly in the last 2.5 years.
So that's what's interesting is a couple of things is like, how did you make that big jump, right? Because it sounds like things were kind of moving slow. You got some investment, which was great, right? But what do you think was the primary mechanism for that growth, and how did you do that?
I think mainly what we have worked on is more the GTM, so commercial approach, how we position front of our clients or solution, how do we compare our solution to other market players, and actually setting up the whole and real commercial arm of the organization. So up to like the beginning of the pandemics, we didn't really have any sales and marketing resources. Like we only had one salesperson, one marketer, and Bence and myself, who were not engineers, and the rest of the team were all engineers. So like 16 people engineers, and then 3-4 people non-engineers. And then really we really needed to build up this arm to actually be successful in selling our tool to potential clients. So we had to learn a lot from our chief commercial officer who joined in 2020 March, and then he helped us to actually build up this muscle of the organization. Okay.
And so for the chief commercial officer role, is that kind of like a CRO role or chief marketing officer role? One of those two?
Exactly.
Okay. Kind of a combo. Okay, cool. Okay. So that makes sense. And so you nailed your positioning, your messaging, and how many people, once you installed that person, how much of a team did you add around the marketing and the content side then?
Yeah, marketing content, right, about 25 to 30 people. In the first year, we've added about 10, and then another 10, and a bit slower this year, like 5 to 8. So we are like 28 people now. Marketing team, very strong. We have focused on content and building out this small media company within the startup. So in the early years and days, we have written our own blog posts. We've looked into optimizing SEO. We've looked into buying our own backlinks and reaching out to sites to get our links out there. So lots of hands-on work needed to be done when we didn't have a real marketing team. But then obviously based on the practices we have learned and the know-how we have gathered, we could implement this to like a bigger organization. So yeah, about 30 people now, 28-ish right now in the marketing team.
So what's the expected? Because that's a big team for marketing. That's one of the largest teams I've heard on the marketing side. Like, what's the expected outcome or the KPIs that you expect a team of that large to execute on consistently?
Yeah, obviously, website visitors, we are tracking the different sources and funnels, whether it's organic, whether it's paid. We are working closely with different agencies to run our ads. We're also having, an in-house team to manage specific ads and monitoring like conversion rates, CPAs and CPCs. And on the other side, conversions on different pages, which CTAs gets how much of the, split of the conversion. So we are reverse engineering our lead sources to invest in those channels and sources which are actually bringing in results. And obviously we need a couple of people on the content side. So we have KPIs on how many new content pieces we are launching, positions for specific keywords. From a SEO point of view, we are continuously tracking like how we are trending compared to our competitors, and as well as how we are tracking to other keywords. If you today look up specific keywords in the industry, there's a high chance of we come up on the first page in Google, which is the fruit of our team's hard work over the last couple of years. Other marketing metrics, I would say, let's say a number of leads, obviously, how many good leads we get, product qualified leads, and number of newsletter signups, number of webinar attendees, number of previously SQS and MQS, and all these are all something we have built out internal dashboards for. So we are closely monitoring what's going well and what's not going well, and this also applies to the sales team. We have to keep on track individual performance, conversion rates, response times, and all this.
Okay. So yeah, it's a pretty big operation. So how many salespeople do you have then?
We have, so the whole commercial team is around 100 people now. And I think salespeople consist, so we have actually built out in the last couple of months quite a big of an SDR team, so sales development representatives, outbound motion in focus, and that's about 25 people. We have senior AEs, BDMs, BDRs, another 40 people, and then we have the marketing team. And now they have moved out from commercial. Previously, they were part of the commercial team. Now we have a different marketing team. So yeah, salespeople now without marketing, I would say actually it's like 70, 80 people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Everything from outbound to inbound, and just, talking to clients to get deals closed and helping them to become successful using our product and solutions.
Okay. Well, then like, because that's the other kind of progression is like most folks, once they hit, well, not most folks, but it's a common trend you'll see in SaaS companies, right? So they'll start with product-led growth. And then once they get to that kind of 10 million mark, they focus more on enterprise or the larger deal sizes. Are you replicating that? Are you deploying that strategy, or are you doing something different?
I really try to think of SEON as more like of a HubSpot instead of a Salesforce. So our mission is to democratize fraud fighting. So to provide a tool to businesses of all sizes, let it be small, medium, large. We still put our product first, but now we are building out more of an enterprise arm of our solution when we can provide, those professional services, let's say like creating those presentations and giving the hands-on help to clients to reach their success criteria with our tool. So before that, it was really in the last 2 years like a packaged product off the shelf. We only explain how it works, plug and play. But now we are looking at bigger clients, and they require actually more of the professional services. And before it wasn't really our focus, so we don't have like an on-premise solution. We are based on AWS. We haven't really been flying out to clients to convince them to buy our product because everything was done through Zoom, especially in the pandemic. So that was also our advantage because our competitors actually were focusing more of the enterprise approach. And when everything shifted to digital, and when clients had to actually try the products out and compare them side by side, that they realized that how we are different to our competitors, and this helped us to actually become a go-to solution for the businesses who we are working with. And yeah, I mean, it's a complex thing, but yeah, enterprise versus PI, I think you can do both, and most companies do both. And if you just do enterprise, let's say, you might end up in a situation when small businesses would not go to you, so your long tail will be non-existent. And I think still long tail is a huge market, and that's why we have launched our e-commerce arm. So we have a Shopify app in their app store, and that's really helpful for us to actually spread the solution amongst the long tail segment.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, what would you say is your single biggest challenge? Well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's challenging shifting from that more product-led growth focus to the enterprise? Has that been challenging?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's challenging because product-led, it's actually a buzzword, but I would say we've been only focusing mainly on the product so far, and now we've got to a point when we have to adjust our GTM and our product offering and every services around these projects in order to appeal to more enterprise clients. So we can't go to a top 5 US bank with a PLG motion. We can't say like, here's the link to sign up, and by the way, here's our link to learn more about our solution. No, you have to go there and show fancy presentations in order to convince stakeholders, and you need a strong team of sales executives and account executives who can convince the internal buyer to become your internal hero and push through your solution. And so far, we haven't even participated in RFIs or RFPs because we knew it would be a waste of time. Those big accounts require much longer sales cycles, and you need to spend much more resources. The reward is also much higher, but for us to get from seed to B, required to actually ignore those big banks who are moving really slow. They might not even buy your solution in the end. So we are focusing really on those medium type of clients, and also smaller ones, and some bigger ones, but mainly those who can move quickly, are only in the digital space and have the same mindset of being a startup and a fast growth companies who really have a problem with fraud and they need to solve their issue by yesterday. And then we were there for them, and we are still there for them to solve the issue ASAP.
Yeah, well, no, that makes sense. And I mean, it's deliberate focus that you have, which is fantastic. I mean, that was one of the things. So I created an enterprise motion from scratch. And so we had to go through that. And we the good and the bad thing was we didn't have any other options. We're like, okay, you have to figure this out. And I'm like, there was no go-to-market, there's no playbook, there's anything, right? But the ultimate deliverable is we ended up closing over $500,000 plus deals with the enterprise companies. And there is a lot of nuances to it because they could take 9 months. We did a deal with Amazon for like $20 million. It took 18 months, right? So there's definitely a different motion, muscle. And then what I would say too, one of the most critical things that most people ignore is like the mental endurance the salespeople need to have. Especially if they're used to closing stuff really fast, right? It's like an emotional roller coaster. So I definitely hear what you're saying. One of the cool things that I heard you say as well is that, and it's funny, I wrote a post about this a couple of weeks ago on LinkedIn, is it's called, I call it the complexity multiplier formula. And so what I've been doing is I've been working with companies, and one of the common themes that I see when you look at their top biggest clients that they've closed is that they'll have outliers in there where, let's say, for example, they think they have to call on $2 billion, $20 billion companies to get, let's say, a $1 million deal. Well, we're finding that, there's those $1 million deals in the $200 million range, $500 million range, as long as the business case is there too. So obviously, like, long story short, the best deals, at least should say, to get the enterprise motion going, is to nail those lowest revenue deals, lowest company revenue, where they have the lowest company revenue, because they have the least amount of decision makers. So the decision make tightens the sales cycle to be much shorter. So
exactly. And your ACV might be lower, but if you look at the numbers, if you have way more clients by just looking at the quick wins, then you can scale up faster, and then your growth will be also higher. So let's say if you would only consider those multi-billion enterprises as your clients, then in 2 years you might get nowhere in terms of traction. So you have to be really convincing in front of your potential and existing investors to explain your strategy, right?
Oh yeah. If you look at it like a balanced portfolio, it's really good. But the weird thing was, we saw, here's the thing, Tamas, we saw they had the same deal size ACV with a $20 billion company as a $500 million company.
Yeah, that's the thing.
As long as the rest of the segmentation is really tight. So, all right. So let me ask you this. So what would you say is, so that's good. And thanks for sharing that, man. Cause that's a transition that a lot of folks are trying to get to at your revenue stage. So what would you say is like your ninja skill, something that you've done that you think better than anyone else to get the results you have in your business and grow it? Like, and could you like break it down in terms of like a framework of how you approach things or a mental model? And let's take it from there.
Yeah. I think of myself like a sponge by soaking up the knowledge. So I try to, and at this point, I was fairly successful of just collecting information pieces across the company so I can make the best decisions. And in order to make good decisions, you have to have the data in place. So I tend to every day read every message on Slack, but not only which channels I am part in, but also, I use this search on today when you type it in Slack and you see all the messages on Slack. And every day I read every message which were shared, not of course in private chats, but in every channels which I can access. So I read all these conversation pieces and try to identify bottlenecks which can then influence like a hiring plan or, deciding whether to put something in a roadmap before or after something else, or in just how we adjust these priority orders in terms of product, in terms of hiring, in terms of GTM, how we look at, let's say, different conversion metrics during our funnel. And I really try to optimize everything for being friction free. So not only the solution we provide is friction free for the clients, but as well as the whole onboarding process for our future clients when they come to our site is friction free. They have to go to the least amount of clicks in order to get to some information piece or try out our product or get to the aha moment within the product. And I'm really obsessed by the industry. So not only I try to soak up knowledge and implement processes in place and make decisions based on those data points, but also I try to learn across industry from different experts, from partners, from advisors. So what we did very well, I think, is during the last 2 funding round, we have assembled 2 angel rounds. So about 25 angels we have now from the largest fintech companies in Europe and also companies like Slack, Datadog, or Figma over in the US. So executives from this company join as investors, and now we can ask questions to them. They're really willing to help to us. We can turn to people with our concerns and frustrations, and then this way we can find shortcuts in building business. So as a first-time founder, we haven't been there before, and now we have helpers who can guide us and shed some light on things we haven't seen before. The other part is just quick follow-ups and throughout process in terms of managing expectations. So I always tend to reply to messages, let's say via email, Slack, in less than 24 hours. And I think that's really important to be accessible. So anyone in the organization can turn with questions to me if no one else can answer those. So I'm happy to help anyone in the organization and just I think what I've got as a feedback is having the vision in place. And then as a CEO, this is the main job I have is having a vision where the company should be in 12 to 18 months. What are the products we are launching? What are the focus points in transforming the business from this to the next level? And when I discuss with people, I always repeat myself by saying, what we need to have to get done to get to the next milestone, which lead to the end goal to the vision. So that's really important. And yeah, everything else you do in between these things is really just be agile, be adaptive, and be friendly and easy to work with people, so they are willing to work with you and help you to build a vision and be collaborative.
Okay, so that's a lot, which is good, right? A lot of things that you're executing on. So couple follow-up questions for that is how many hours a day do you work?
It depends, between 12 to 14, something like that.
Okay, so that's reasonable. I mean, that's you're hitting it hard, but you're not like psycho. You're not working 20 hours a day, right? So
yeah.
how much time do you spend reading those Slack messages?
2 to 3 hours.
Wow, 2 to 3 hours. And so that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, that's gotta take a long time to go through all the Slack messages.
About 2,000 a day.
2,000 a day. And so by doing that, do you just kind of look at that as, because that's a massive commitment, man. So do you see, like, you think that's the easiest way to spot all the trends and patterns of, like, that for you? Is that like a pattern recognition exercise where you're just like, hey, like, I could see what's going wrong here because we're getting 5 questions on this or 6 complaints on this? Or is that kind of like how your brain works? And then you could translate that into the product?
Spot on. And I work with the C-suite members in order to also replicate the same, kind of approach. So when I see a pattern, let's say, hey, there's a concerned customer, there's a big issue, and then, if it comes up multiple times, then, hey, I know, like, we have to prioritize this. Obviously, this is just one aspect. Let's say in finance, I know if you get the same, repeated ask or need, then, hey, I know, like, we have to implement something. But just by capturing these pieces can be helpful to adjust the need of adjustments on or fine tuning specific flows or processes, and then this is how we can level up. And I know that it's waste of time from a specific perspective, but for me, without actually having access to all these information pieces, I might not make as good decisions as I would without the information at hand.
I mean, that's very admirable that you spend that much time on it. How do you prioritize it then after going through that? Because it's a lot of data intake on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, multiple things. So in terms of emails, I have like a color coding, requires my follow-up, requires my monitoring, important emails, etc. On Slack, I also tend to save stuff. Like I'm using reminders. I'm using draft messages if I have to keep in mind something. I have my own to-do list. I try to be very holistic in how I view the business. So not only looking at individual shareholders in the C-suite, like, hey, this is the job of CPO, CTO, but I'm looking at global, horizontal tasks across the business. And then every day, when I have some bandwidth, then I follow through these steps and check in, how things are going. And we are setting up also reporting systems, which is really helpful for me to understand how things are going in the right or wrong direction, so we can take steps to avoid something to keep unfolding in a way we don't want it to be.
Okay, excellent, man. Well, I could ask you 100 more questions on different things, because I think the way that you look at pattern recognition is really unique, and obviously there's with the way your brain works and how you kind of view problems, it's working really well for you. And like I said, I don't know very many CEOs that would take the time to spend 2 to 3 hours a day reading Slack messages. So, so props to you for your commitment, man. That's impressive. So, so we are up on time right now. So I think to end the episode, it'd be great for people to understand where they could find you, where they could find out more about your company, where can they get some of the content. So let us know. We'll put it in the show notes, and then we'll wrap it up.
Amazing. SEON.io. Yeah, that's where you can find us. Try out our product. It works well.
So that's pretty simple. SEON, that's SEON.io. So Tamas, it was awesome having you on the show. It was really great hearing your perspective and your view and kind of how you handle things. So thanks for being on, man.
My pleasure. Thank you too.
All right. And we will see you all on the next episode.